Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Start the Week with Spencer. This is our weekly webinar here at Doman International that we host live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Parents join from around the world, parents of children with special needs, to ask their biggest and most important questions. And we do urge parents to bring their questions to these sessions. And I do really like, having parents on this webinar who have done our program, who have experience, who can talk from a place of doing the Doman Method for years. And so today I have Regina here. Regina is the mom of Jayde. And Regina has, achieved some amazing results with Jayde. And I want to ask Regina about that in this session, and also ask about her advice for other parents out there who might be getting started with the program or interested in the program. And so, yeah, she's coming from a place out of experience. Regina, thanks so much for coming.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Regina, would you mind talking a little bit about, maybe Jayde's early life? When did you realize that she might have some challenges in her development? And what were those first months of her life like?
Yes. So we realized early on that she might have some challenges, just delayed milestones, not achieving, big milestones. Eating was very challenging for her. She had a lot of reflux issues, severe reflux issues. So with that, it was tough to, get her on her belly or get her, active. She wasn't, she didn't have the energy. She wasn't feeling great. She was fussy. It was hard to get her settled. So there was a lot that involved her medical attention at that point early on. We were literally going from specialist to specialist 4 to 5 days out of the week, trying to get some answers. And the answers were put her on medication, start on reflex meds. I started breastfeeding, but we needed a supplement. So it was finding a formula that she would be okay with. And it was just, okay, well, try PT, try OT, try these different other therapies, and best of luck. Just see if this works. There was no definite answers. We did a lot of different testing, and it wasn't clear. We didn't get any real help at that point in her early life. I'd say the first year of her life.
And at what point did you find out about the Doman Method, and how did you find out about it?
So we found out about it through my mother-in-law. Actually, she had gone to school in Philadelphia, and she remembers them mentioning about Glenn Doman, and she recalled a book that he wrote. And so I read it and was very interested in that one book. I was like, wow, so many different answers already. This could be very helpful for us, using different therapies, different modalities that I hadn't quite heard of before. Nonetheless, seemed very effective. So we called and scheduled an appointment for Jayde. She was, let's see, I think she was 10 months when we first learned about it, scheduled the appointment. And then it was a couple months later where we can bring Jayde back to meet with the team and get assessed. And we started the program when Jayde was 14 months of age.
And at 14 months, what were the biggest issues she was facing?
Okay, so Jayde was not mobile at all. She couldn't sit up. We were still working on the feeding issues. Sleep was disrupted. She wasn't really making any sounds. And she was uncomfortable. She was
Like irritable?
She was irritable.
Mm.
We did, in between this, we did need to get an emergency surgery for Jayde. She had to get a G-tube placed. And with that, we needed to learn the feeding tube, but through the surgery, there were complications, and we had some issues with that as well. She had to get a Nissen fundoplication at the same time. So yeah, there was a lot going on, and it was tough. It was tough for her at that time.
Yeah, before this session started, Regina and I were talking about how it's been 9 years. That's how long I've known Regina and Jayde for. And and we were talking about how you can forget a lot after 9 years. I had actually forgotten that she was tube fed.
Yeah.
That she had a G-tube when she started the program. But now that you say it, I remember it very well. And how that was like one of the big early things that we focused on.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. She had a diagnosis of failure to thrive. She was very weak, low muscle tone. And yeah, so.
And do you remember what were the first programs you started after coming to Philadelphia for the appointment?
Yes, we started the physiological program and the nutrition program first. So we started with the BEPs, and we needed to, and when I say nutrition program, we weaned her off of formula and did a blended diet with more like real foods, nutritional value. And we actually weaned her off of her medication that she started taking at the age of 3 months. She was on several different reflex meds. That's actually tough for me to say. But from the age of 3 months to a year is when we were able to wean her off. And even just from the nutrition plan and the BEPs, we're already seeing results in mobility. I want to say it was 4 or 5 months later, she started to get on her hands and knees, and she started to creep. And then from there, she started sitting. And so that happened pretty fast after we started the program.
And did Jayde crawl on her belly before she crept, or she just started getting up onto her hands and knees and creeping?
She did not, because of the feeding tube and because of the severity of, she had a wound that had opened up and that I don't want to get into. But she has some trauma around there, a lot of pain, infection around the area in her belly. So she would not get on her belly. So she did resort to hands and knees first and started moving forward that way. Before then, she was rolling, I guess, essentially for transportation. A little bit here and there, but yeah.
Right. So, okay. So she starts the program. You start with the respiratory program that helps her breathing. She maybe after 4 or 5 months, like you said, she starts to get up on her hands and knees and creep. And nutrition. How long did it take to stop the tube feeding, like to get her to all oral feeding?
Okay. So I actually took some separate courses on my own to get her to help her wean off, because there was a whole protocol for that, and to help her integrate eating orally, because she had a lot of sensitivities too. lot of texture sensitivities. And so I want to say it took her, she got the tube when she was 1, and I weaned her off by the time she was 3.
Got it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I remember that because the courses and I believe the book that you read on tube feeding,
Mm-hmm.
we've since recommended to a lot of parents, and our nutritionists have read it too, which is great.
Yeah, it was really helpful.
Yeah. So how? Okay, so tell us about. So Jayde starts creeping on her hands and knees. And once she did that and was kind of creeping around for transport,
Mm-hmm.
what did you do to get her walking?
A lot.
A lot, yeah.
Okay. So once we were at a point where she was wanting to go more on her belly, we did get her on the incline track, and we did help her with gravity to kind of move forward in that position in that way. There was also a cool little device that we had made, and it was to keep her on her belly because she did tend to want to roll off because of the sensitivities. Mind you, she was healed at this point. But it essentially kept her more on her belly to be on that in that motion. So a lot of practice there. And then we did do the, I don't know what you call it now, but it's like a stander.
Yeah, the standing environment. Yeah.
The standing environment to help strengthen the muscles. And we did a lot of different exercises with that. And then even against the wall when she was able to stand more independently, standing against the wall. And then we moved on to utilizing brachiation, but she was all the way to the floor, and she would brachiate while touching her feet were touching the floor, to kind of learn the cross pattern and what that feels like as well. But yes, it was definitely a process, and little by little she became more independent, and at the age of 4 years and 7 months she started walking, which we were told when we met with a neurologist when she was it was before we actually came to you guys, that she would never walk. Mm-hmm. And that she would be wheelchair bound and for the rest of her life. And that that was that.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
And out of interest, did the neurologist predict anything else that she overcame? I mean, saying she's never going to walk, and her walking is enough. Yeah. But was there anything else, any other prognosis that the doctor gave?
Well,
I know it's a long time ago too, so it
was a long time ago, and that one obviously sticks out. But it was walking, it was talking, it was cognitive abilities, it was, maybe never getting past the feeding tube. It was, her not ever being independent.
Yeah.
And it was a very dim day. That was rough to hear as a first-time mom, your first child. And there was no hope. It was just like, this is what it is, and this is what it's going to be. And
and Regina, we're starting to get certain questions being submitted. One mom, Pankita, is asking, what course did you take for the feeding therapy? Do you happen to remember the name?
Ooh, I would have to go back and go through my things. And then can I let you know, Spencer? And
let me know. Yeah. This mom is on the program, so if you let me know, then I can then I can pass the information on
Amazing.
to her.
It was a while ago.
Yeah.
I know I can look it up.
Okay. Oh, by the way, there are two messages that have come in. These are really questions for me more than you, Regina. Two parents have asked about breathing enhancement approval. So I'll just quickly say something about that. So in Regina and Jayde's case, Jayde was approved for the breathing enhancement program probably at her first visit, right?
Yeah,
So so they came to Philadelphia. She was seen by our medical director and was approved for the respiratory program because it does require a doctor's approval. If some of the parents who have messaged here say they're having difficulty getting approval, so my advice for these parents, I'm not sure if these parents have come for appointments or not. If you've come for an appointment, definitely reach out to your staff coach and ask them. Okay. And and if you haven't come for an appointment, probably shoot an email to Colleen at info@domaninternational.org. I'll put Colleen's email address so you know where to contact her, and she can help with giving you more information or connecting you with the right person. So I've put Colleen's email there. All right. Okay. So Jayde starts to walk at 4 years, Regina. Where is she now in her mobility?
Okay. So she is, of course, walking at rapid paces. She's running. We're getting her to run longer distances. But she's moving fast. She's her balance coordination, through the program, everything has improved. Her mobility has just exceeded all expectations, and she's continuing, to thrive in that way, of course. But yeah, she's doing really well.
And you mentioned cognitive before. So do you mind talking about Jayde, like where Jayde has gotten in her reading and math skills? Because I think that would be surprising to a lot of people.
Yeah. So Jayde started reading at the age of 2. And, doing, let's see, math. She was adding, I feel like by the age of 3, we were using the dot cards, this and that. So Jayde has been advanced in her level and her cognitive abilities. And she is going to be starting 5th grade. That's wild.
Wow.
But she is reading at a 6th, 7th grade level. Her math, I can no longer teach her.
She's too advanced.
She's advanced. I'm not a math teacher. But Spencer has recommended some very helpful programs. And she's, all subjects really, we do history, science, reading comprehension, she knows Spanish, she reads in Spanish, and she's doing really well. She's always been advanced, from where she's like her neurotypical age. She's always been advanced in her cognitive abilities since starting the program. But we started at a young age. And so the Doman program, recommended, as far as like homeschooling. So we've been essentially homeschooling her since she was 1. And she's,
she is really, really smart.
Yes.
And can you talk a little bit about her feeding now? Because there have been multiple questions about the tube feeding, so people are interested in that. So how is her feeding now?
Now she eats orally. She eats any texture now, which is so neat to say, because we literally started with purees, and she was eating purees for, Once she finally got more comfortable eating orally, it was purees for like a year. It was for a while, and then slowly integrating other textures. But now she eats any texture. I feel like meat was the toughest one for us, and she's now, she's eating meats. She's eating independently. We are working on using a utensil for the whole meal. She will start with a utensil with mild assistance, and then she gets really hangry, and then she's like, let me just, but yeah, so it's been a lot of work around her eating, because also it did take her 2 hours to get through one meal. Wow. And now, it'll take her anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. So we've reduced the time spent on just eating and trying to get her to eat. And now obviously we have other time for other exercises and part of the program that needs to.
Yeah, that for kids with tube feeding or who are just poor eaters, when you have to spend 6 hours a day just getting calories in, good luck
and
trying
she
to get
was
done.
Failure Thrive, so she was underweight. I mean, she's still very petite, but that was always a primary concern.
Yeah, and Haley's asking a question here. What age is a blended diet recommended for a baby with a G tube? When is Spencer's baby book getting released? Okay, so for what age is the blended diet being recommended for a baby? That really depends on where the child is. Are they able to start taking some food via mouth? Children vary greatly in their breathing ability, what's safe. So that, Haley, really has to be kind of decided with our nutrition team based on the child. I can ask Regina what you did for Jayde. Do you remember how old Jayde was when she started the blended diet?
It was literally shortly after we started with you guys, but Jayde was already, as I said, 14 months around there. Yeah. So I feel like when we got back from Philadelphia,
it was that soon.
We started it. But I introduced it slow, just as far as what foods I put in the diet, and blended, just so, we can kind of see if there's any reactions or whatever the case may be. But we started slow and then eventually started incorporating more foods to put in the blend. But that helped so much once we were able to get her off the formula.
Great. And Haley's asking about a baby book. I'm actually not releasing a book, but through Doman Learning, we're releasing a baby course. So that's going to be an online course for basically any parent of a newborn baby or expecting parents who want to know what kind of stimulation you can do at home for an infant. And that's going to be released August 13th. So 11 days from now.
That's exciting.
Yeah. Okay. Sandra's asking, what program do you feel has been most helpful for your daughter, the cognitive, the breathing, or the physical?
Now, are we talking when we started? Are we talking
good point. Let's say when you started. Let's begin.
When we started, the breathing program and nutrition, as I mentioned, hands down, that was extremely helpful when we started. Mobility has been, she's made the most, I guess, achievements through mobility overall for looking at from age 1 to 10. And then, of course, cognitive, yes, very, very important. She's, like I said, she's incredibly smart. Her level of understanding is beyond. We're still working on the speech development, but that is also coming along.
Yeah, and I feel like that's pretty common for children, that as time goes on, that the priorities change, because
Yes.
when you don't feed, okay, feeding is we got to get you eating. So that's the priority. And then when you start feeding, okay, now mobility is the priority. We got to get you walking. And then you start walking and it's like, all right, now speech is the priority.
Right. Because in the beginning, like I said, she had no energy. She was uncomfortable. She didn't want to do, anything. She wasn't motivated. I don't blame her, but we needed to get her in a place where she was able to do the physical program, where she was able to do more.
Yeah.
And when she saw that she felt better, this is helping me, that's her motivation. That's our motivation. Like, what? I can get on my hands and knees now. I can move this way if I want to go get a toy. And, little by little gaining more independence and confidence within herself.
Colleen, did you have something?
Yeah, just real quick. This is reminding me as I talk to parents who, of course, have been working with different piecemeal programs before they found us. They're excited at the prospect of a holistic program, but a lot of times they think, oh, that means we're going to have to do equal amounts of everything. And it's really good for families to hear, no, we have to address each child's greatest need first, because otherwise, if she's got no energy, there's no physical program happening.
Right. So really, and actually reminds me now that you're talking to Colleen, she was sick before. She wasn't feeling well. She was, her, like we had to pay so much attention, to those medical needs, but that goes into it. Like once she started feeling better, and she wasn't feeling ill, it's like, okay, I can do these things now.
And then uncovering, just like how smart she is. Like if you're not feeling well, the last thing you really want to do is learn something or do,
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
right.
Yeah, it's a good point, because a lot of the time in this webinar and even in our books, we focus on ability, like how can you go from not being able to do something to being able to do it. But when you just look at how many children start our program, which is ill, irritable, feeding problems, those are the quality of your life is terrible, for the child and also for parents. I'm sure that time was really exhausting for all of you to see her struggling with that.
Yes. Yeah.
Alina is asking how old Jayde is now.
She's 10.
Yeah, 10 years old.
Yes.
All right. Tell us about what are Jayde's favorite things now in life? Like what is she? I know that she loves music a lot.
She loves music. Yes. And actually, okay, so the interesting thing about that is when she was young, she could not hear music. She couldn't stand it. We needed to be in a very quiet environment, like in home. Like we couldn't take her anywhere. It was way too overwhelming. It was sensory overload. And I want to say this was like the first two years of her life, maybe 2.5. She could not enjoy music. It was like she couldn't, literally the environment had to be really sound and quiet. But yes, she loves music. She's a nature girl. She loves to be outside. She loves to go on her walks, runs. She loves to swim. I feel like anything, outdoors.
Is Alicia Keys still her favorite musician? Or has she moved on?
Did I tell you the story about that?
She did. Yeah, that's kind of where I was leading. Do you mind telling that story?
Okay, so no, I don't. Okay, so when Jayde was learning to walk, her favorite song was "That Girl Is on Fire" by Alicia Keys, and there was a spark. There was this like mode that would switch on that just would get her going. And so this is like when we were first walking and counting steps, it was 10, 15, And then we would go in the backyard, and we would play this song, the Girl's on Fire, and she was on fire. Like, she would feel it. So this has been her favorite song for some years. Jayde had the opportunity to go to her concert and to meet her and to tell a little bit of her story to Alicia. It was a whole moment. Alicia Keys is so sweet and genuine. She gave Jayde a hug. She took a picture with her. And when I say went to the concert, we were able to get a room so she wasn't like down there in it. But even that, her being able to go to a concert and be okay. Mind you, she didn't stay the whole time, but long enough to hear her perform The Girl's on Fire. And she loved it, but that was a really cool experience, unique, and it was special that how Alicia Keys like received it, and she was like touched by that, and it was really, really neat experience.
So, Alina is saying it's great that she's able to read at a 5th to 6th grade level. Do you mind just talking about the process of teaching her how to read? Like you said, she started reading at 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing you started with single words.
Yes.
Okay. And did you show couplets and sentences?
Yes.
So you followed the whole, and then homemade books?
Yes.
Yeah.
So single words, showing her the words, and then introducing the couplets, and then, as Spencer mentioned, the sentences, and then we been making homemade books for quite some time. We started with the font; it was bigger, with the books, and we limited the pictures, or didn't have them on the same page as the words, and so. Yeah, through the homemade books and onward. And now we just get the content, out of the, whatever book she's interested in, whatever book we're introducing, and then we type it up for the homemade books. But yeah.
Great. And everyone, so we have Regina for about 5 more minutes. So if you have any questions, go ahead and type them into the comments box, and hopefully we'll have time to get to them. Regina, I was going to ask, were you, when you first started the program, were you skeptical about Jayde learning how to read, or were you like a believer from day one?
I think I was a believer from day one because of the experience prior, and those specialists that were so, I guess so negative, so just, she's not going to be able to achieve much. And it was like, you know what? No, she is. I didn't believe that. I did not believe that. I didn't accept that. And then when I came across What to Do About Your Brain and Your Child, I was like, okay, now this makes sense to me. This is what makes more sense. And I had hope for the first time, and it was just a breath of fresh air. So I started it, and I was all in. However, I will say that there were other family members that were not believers. So that was tough to navigate on my own. My husband wasn't quite a believer in the beginning. It took him a little bit, but he got there. But extended family as well. Grandparents, aunts and uncles. There was a lot of non-believers, but we just needed the believers, to be around Jayde, so she, could feel that as well. And
I want to ask you one follow-up about that, because there are parents who really carry with them for years the negative things that professionals say.
Yeah.
Like, I actually almost at least on a monthly basis, I'll have a family like leave our office, and they're like all gung-ho to get started with something and they'll say, oh, we haven't started that yet. You know, we'll check in after a month or something. They're like, oh, we haven't started that yet. And they'll sometimes tell me, oh, you know, the neurologist told me my child would never do this. And, you know, it's kind of crippled our hopes so much. We're kind of like, it's hard to just take the first step. So I'm wondering, how do you handle that? Like, how do you handle the naysayers, you said you had some people in your family, professionals who have delivered you pretty negative news about Jayde that were proven wrong. Like, how do you emotionally deal with that?
Okay, so it's not easy, but I think just like when we started the program and we were just seeing the results already, it spoke for itself, and that was motivating. And so once we started seeing that, I didn't really need to explain myself or explain like, okay, yes, it was like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. But I was at a point where you're either with me or you're against me. I hope that doesn't sound harsh. But for Jayde and for her to get to the place where we truly believed she could get to and achieve a higher level of independence, and we saw it with our own eyes, which we hadn't seen any sign of improvement. Literally the first year of her life, like she was regressing. And despite all the things that the doctors were telling us and the professionals were recommending, we didn't see any results whatsoever. And it was a very negative space and place to be in. And I feel like just that little light of hope and like shining through was enough for us to just keep moving forward. And we literally took it one day at a time. One day at a time, so it's not too overwhelming. So we're not feeling like, oh, we're not achieving this, or we're supposed to be doing this and this, but we're not getting to it. You know, you get to what you can get to. Every day's different. And just trusting the process, which I know is easier said than done. And just finding support wherever you can as well is helpful. Whether it is through a friend, a family member, just support where they don't have to maybe fully be all in, but just support you on your mental health well-being. And just, I guess in that way, I love it now that you guys offer the support for the parents.
Yeah, the Doman parent support.
Amazing. And that's a beautiful thing.
You know, as you were talking, I remember, I'm going to butcher this quote, but I heard some quote that was something like, you know, you shouldn't pay attention to criticism from someone if they're not a person you would seek out their advice. In other words, like if it's someone that you wouldn't trust to go to get good advice from, why should you listen to them when they criticize you, you know? And right. it makes, I'm just thinking now about, you know, if a professional is giving you, you know, kind of a bad outlook on your child's future, and yet they can't deliver a single positive thing, maybe you should take what they say with a grain of salt, you know?
Yes.
Just a thought.
Yes.
Regina, how has your view of Jayde changed during your time on the program?
In what way?
Like I guess your kind of view of her future, like if you think about how you thought about her future in her first year of life compared to now, how would you compare that?
I don't know, Spencer. I was always like, she is going to be doing some amazing things. She's going to be creating miracles, and she is going to achieve anything and everything. I'm just competitive mindset. I was a D1 athlete in college. I played soccer, but I'm just like, I just never accepted the fact that, you know, she was going to I guess, for example, be wheelchair bound or be more dependent. I knew it was going to take a lot of work. I knew that, and trust me, there was some really, really hard days. But I still see, and I've seen, the miracles that she's already achieved. I've seen what she's overcome. And it's just looking in the bigger picture, like her growth through her years of development and stages it's always progressed since we've been with Doman and your guys' program. It's always progressed. And yes, maybe there's been times where it's been more of like a standstill and we haven't seen results as fast. But we just take it, like day by day and little by little, and even these little inch stones, they're not milestones for us. Okay. They're little inch stones, and we take and we celebrate every little one. And it's encouraging and it's motivating. And we still see a very bright future for Jayde. She's going to do big things far beyond our expectations. She's going to, I don't know, change the world in one way or another. She's so motivated. This is essentially all she's known. She has a wonderful spirit and resilience, and you can't tell her anything that she's, not going to be able to achieve.
Yeah. Last week I interviewed a young woman who graduated from our program, Sophia. I do recommend anyone watching this to go back and watch it, because I interviewed her and her mother together. But one of the things Sophia talked about was how she actually felt the program helped make her a more resilient person. Yeah. She actually is going to med school now. She's going to become a pediatrician.
That is wonderful.
Yeah. And I've told her, okay, when you graduate, like, we're going to hire you. But she credited her resilience to, of course, to her parents, and the program as a young child.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Regina, thanks so much for joining us. I do see there's some comments I haven't gotten to. I see one from Stacy and Virginia, but I did see your questions, and I will get back to. I'll go and answer you in writing a bit later in the day. Regina, thank you so much for joining us.
Of course, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, everyone, have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.
Have a nice week. Bye-bye.